Welcome back to On the Same Page. We are on Daf Mem Gimel Amud Aleph 43a of Maseches Kiddushin, on the very bottom line of the page, which begins Amar Rava. In the previous line of the Gemara established or concluded that a shliach is nasa eid, that a messenger, an agent, can be one of the witnesses on the transaction or on the betrothal, let's say. So somebody appoints an agent to go betroth a woman on his behalf. Now you need two edim, you need two witnesses for a betrothal, for a Kiddushin, and he's going to be one of the witnesses and another person will be the second witness. That works. The one carrying out the agency can be the witness. Now the individual himself, the man who's being betrothed, who's getting married, would not be able to be a witness, but his agent is able to be a witness. So building off of that, the Gemara says, Amar Rava, Amar Rav Nachman. Rava said in the name of Rav Nachman, Amar Lishnayim, Tzeu v'kidshu liyas isha. If a man said to two people, go and betroth a woman for me, a certain woman, hein shluchav, hein edav. They will act both as his shluchim, as his agents, as well as his witnesses. I suppose only one of them is actually going to do the agency of the Kiddushin, but they are both able to, and not only that, but they can both be his witnesses. The witnesses that the Kiddushin occurred, even the one who does the Kiddushin can be a witness on the Kiddushin, building off of what the Gemara had said previously. V'chein b'gerushin. And the same is true for a divorce. If a man appoints an agent to bring a get to his wife, then, and you need two witnesses that the divorce document was handed to the wife, so the agent who's handing it over can be one of the witnesses. V'chein b'dinei mamonos. And the same is true for monetary matters. So if a person owes money, a person borrowed money, he's sending the money back to the lender to pay him back. So he gives it to an agent to deliver the money. That agent can also be a witness that the money was delivered and that the borrower paid back the lender. Utricha. Says the Gemara, we need all of these. We need to teach us about each of these things. Meaning, Rav, in the name of Rav Nachman had to tell us not just Kiddushin, but he had to tell us that it's true for divorce, for Gerushin, and he had to tell us that it's true for Mamonos, for monetary matters. I wouldn't have been able to just assume because it's true for one that it's true for the other. Why is that true? Why is that the case? Tzricha, it was necessary to teach each one. Because if Rav Nachman had only told us that this was true for Kiddushin, if he had just said that when it comes to Kiddushin, the agent can also be a witness to the marriage, Mishum de la Misra Kasi, I would have said that that's because he's coming to forbid this woman on him. By saying that she's now married to, the agent is bringing the Kiddushin to her, which means that now she's going to be married to the person who sent him, which means that now she can't marry the agent anymore. So in a way, he's creating that he can never marry this woman, or not now, but when she's married to the other guy. So this is sort of to his detriment. He's creating an isser, a prohibition on himself, that he now cannot marry her. So maybe there, that's where we'll believe him, because it's not in his interest that she be married, and yet he's still claiming it, so we can believe him that that's the case. Aval Gerushin. But if he's testifying that she got divorced, he's testifying that I delivered the get to her and I'm one of the witnesses. So then, Nechush, we should be concerned, Shema Einam Nasan Ba. Maybe he set his eyes on her. Maybe he never actually brought her the get. But he still wants to claim that she's divorced so that he can marry her. So that's what we might have said, and we might have thought that he shouldn't be believed. But no, we say he's still believed. We do believe him. We're not concerned about that. We don't think that he's going to do that. And therefore, he's a valid witness. And even when it comes to divorce, the shliach, the agent, can be one of the witnesses. V'i ashmainan gerushin. Now, if they had just taught me about divorce, and not about monetary matters, which was the third thing, so mishum de'itza lebeitrei lo chazya. So I would have said, you know why he's believed when it comes to divorce? That he's believed to say that he delivered the get and she's now divorced? Because there has to be a second witness. It doesn't work with one witness. So there's two witnesses. So what are we going to say? That they're conspiring so that one of them can marry her? Only one of them would be able to marry him. So only one of the two would be able to marry her. She would only be able to marry one of them. And so we don't suspect that there's a conspiracy going on between these two fellows. It's not in both of their interests. It can only be in one of their interests. And if they're both claiming that she's divorced, then we'll accept that. Aval mamona, but when it comes to money, ema, I should say, hani miflug palgi, that they're going to divide up the money. In other words, we have a guy borrows money, and now he wants to pay it back. So he gives it to a messenger to bring. So the messenger, he's carrying the $500 that he has to bring to pay back the loan to the lender. And he says, I have a great idea. I'll get my friend and we'll claim that I returned the money. We'll testify that I gave the money back, and then we'll keep it for ourselves. So there's an interest from both the witnesses because they could just split the money. They can't split the woman. You can't say it's in the interest of both of them, but they could split the money. And therefore, we might have thought that we shouldn't believe them, that the agent cannot be one of the witnesses. Kamash Malan, that's where Rav Nachman's coming to teach us that no, even still, we're not concerned about that. We don't think they're going to make up the story, and we believe them when it comes to money as well. We allow the agent to be one of the witnesses. Okay, 3 of these, so that's why we need all of them. Now the Gemara asks, Maika Savar, what does Rav Nachman hold? We want to understand this case better, where the agent is delivering the money, and he's believed to say that it was delivered, that he gave the money from the borrower to the lender. So what does he hold? Ika Savar, if he holds Hamal v'chaveiro be'edim, tzarech lefaro be'edim, there's a machlokas, there is an existing dispute with regards to the following. If a person borrows money in front of witnesses, meaning, let's go back. If he borrows money not in front of witnesses, so just between friends, somebody lends someone money, there's no witnesses. So then, there's no requirement that he pay back in front of witnesses. That's clear. They borrow in this way, he's allowed to pay back in this way. However, what if he borrowed in front of witnesses? There's 2 witnesses that he borrowed money. So when he returns the money, in order to be able to claim that he returned the money, does he need witnesses or not? So it's a machlok, it's a dispute. Some say that when you borrow in front of witnesses, in order to be believed that you returned it, you also have to return it in front of witnesses. And others say no, even if you don't return it in front of witnesses, you just return it, and then you make that claim in court that you returned all the money, then you can be believed. So the Gemara asks, what does he hold? If he holds that if you borrow money in front of witnesses, you are required to return it in front of witnesses, so then I don't understand why, in this case, he would be believed when he is the agent. Hani nogaim be'edus inu. These witnesses who are delivering the money, they're nogea be'edus. They are, they have, I don't want to use the word bias necessarily, but nogea be'edus means that they are disqualified from testifying because they have some kind of connection, they have some potential bias here. What is that? Because de'iyamri lo parane, because let's say they lose the money. Let's say actually let's say they want to claim that they gave back the money. So the agent, the borrower gives the agent money to return to the lender, and then the agents want to give it back. They say, you know what? We changed our mind. We're not accepting this mission. Here's your money back. Now, if they say, lo parane, if they say we never gave the money to the agent, to the lender, rather we gave it back to you. So Amar Lahu Paruni, he's going to tell them, you've got to pay me. They say, but we gave it back to you. But he'll say, no, but you didn't give it to me in front of witnesses. So I don't believe, you're not going to be believed. Right? So in assuming, this claim assumes that the agent, the borrower, he's giving money to the agent to deliver to the lender. Now, if he gives it in front of witnesses, saying it's sort of like he's lending them money in front of witnesses. And if they decide, you know what, we don't want to do this mission, we're giving it back to you, they have to give it back in front of witnesses. So now they have basically, they have so the question here is, what the Gemara is bringing out is, why would we believe them to say that they gave the money to the lender? That's exactly what they would say if they wanted to steal it for themselves. Because they wouldn't be believed to say we gave it back to the sender, to the borrower. They wouldn't be believed to say that. So if they would want to steal it, what's their best claim? Their best claim is that we gave it to the lender, and we're the witnesses. And then that's the best case scenario for them. That's the best thing they could claim if they wanted to steal it. And therefore, they should not be believed because, or not necessarily should they be believed, because there's nothing that compels us to believe them. As opposed to in the next case, the Gemara. In the next case, the Gemara says, so why would we believe them? Because of the following. Because really it must be that Rav Nachman holds that if you borrow money, if you lend money with witnesses, or borrow money with witnesses, you do not have to pay back in front of witnesses. So therefore, they would be believed to say to the borrower, again, the borrower gives them money to return, to give back to the lender. Now they would be believed to say, even if it was done in front of witnesses, that they got the money to return, they would be believed to say that, you know what, we changed our mind and we gave it back to him. We gave it back to the borrower. We didn't want to do this. And migu diyachli lememar ahadrinu lelove. And we have the concept of migu. Migu is like, since they'd be believed to say this, we could believe them to say that. Since they would be believed in a court of law, if they would claim that we gave you back the money, we decided to give up our mission. So So then we'll believe them also to say that we paid the malva, we paid the lender, that we actually gave it. In other words, Rav Nachman said a rule. Rav Nachman said that if you give money to two agents to return, if the borrower gives money to the two agents to bring to the lender, the creditor, so they are believed to say that they gave it. So the Gemara basically says, well, if Rav Nachman holds that they would not be believed to say, you know what, we cancel our mission, we don't want to give it back, we gave it back to you, if they wouldn't be believed to say that, so we shouldn't believe them to say that they actually delivered the money, because there's no, maybe they didn't, maybe they just kept it for themselves. And it's in their interest to make that claim. That's their best claim. If they wanted to keep the money, they would say, we deliver it, we deliver the money, and we want, and so we're off the hook. When really it could be that they kept it, and there's no logic dictating that we should believe them. But if Rav Nachman holds that if you borrow money in front of witnesses, you don't have to return in front of witnesses, And so when the borrower gives them money to deliver, if they would return it to the borrower not in front of witnesses, and then they would be believed, meaning if they would claim that they returned it, they would be believed. So they could always make that claim. If they wanted to steal the money, they don't have to say we delivered the money. If they wanted to steal the money, they could just say, oh, actually we gave it back to you. We returned it. So therefore, since they have such a claim and it would be accepted, so migu, since we would accept that claim, if they wanted to steal the money, then we'll accept their claim that they actually delivered the money, because why would they lie? They have a sort of a better claim if they wanted to steal the money, and they didn't make that claim. So we should believe them, since they have. I don't know, actually, if in the end it's not necessarily a better claim, but at the moment, if we're examining, what their options are, so we know they're believed to say, we gave it back to you, we canceled our mission. So if they're believed to say that, so they have an option if they want to steal the money, and so then they would be believed to say it, and they would get away with it. So since we would anyways believe them to say that, then we'll believe them when they say that they actually delivered the money, because again, the logic is if they really wanted to steal it, they just would have said the other thing. It must be that they are telling the truth. Okay, so that's all good, the Gemara says. Before the sages introduced the concept of a shvuas hesis. A shvuas hesis is that one would need to take an oath if they deny the whole thing. So basically, the basic halacha is that here in this scenario where the guy gives them money to return on his behalf. So the borrower gives them money to bring to the creditor. So they're the agents. Now the lender, I guess, the creditor, is claiming he never got the money. I never got anything. Let's say they would say, yeah, you know why? Because we gave it back to the borrower. And the borrower says, I didn't get any money back from you. So now it's between the borrower and the agents. The borrower gave agents money to deliver, and they're claiming we gave it back to you. So we don't owe you anything. Now, if they had said we gave you back half of it, so that's what we call moda b'miktsas. They're admitting to half, and the halacha is the Torah requires that once you admit to half, we require you to swear on the other half, to take an oath of denial that, if they would claim, let's say, we delivered half the money. We gave half back, we delivered half, let's say. So they deny half, so they have to take a shvuah, an oath, on the other half. But if they deny the whole thing, midoraisa, according to Torah law, you don't have to take an oath. If he says, you owe me the money back, and they say, no, we don't, we gave it back to you, we gave the whole thing back to you, we deny the whole claim, so then they don't have to take an oath according to Torah law. But the sages enacted that they would take an oath. When you deny the whole thing, you take an oath of denial called a shvuas hesis. So now the Gemara says that changes things. Because now that whole migu falls by the wayside. That logic before falls by the wayside. Because why were we going to believe them that they delivered the money? We were going to believe them because they have an even better, if they wanted to steal it, they make a better claim, which was that we gave it back. We returned it to the borrower. We canceled the mission. And since they would be believed for that, we'll believe them to say that they delivered the money. But now, it's not actually a better claim that they returned all the money, because now that we have this enactment of a shvuas hesis, that they would actually have to take an oath in that situation, so that's no longer a better claim anymore. That would require them to take an oath if they would make that claim. And the person would the oaths are very serious. They wouldn't want to take an oath. So and even if they wanted to steal the money, they wouldn't if they would have to take an oath. So if they were lying, then if they wanted to steal the money, they wouldn't have claimed we gave it back, because then they have to swear, and they wouldn't swear just to get a little money or a lot of money. So that's no longer a better claim. So the Gemara says, but now that the rabbis have enacted the shvuas hesis, that you have to take an oath if you deny the whole claim, so then, mishtabi hani edim diavinale. So now they're going to have to swear that they actually paid the money. I mean, they could have taken an oath that they return the money back to the borrower, that they cancel the mission. They're making the claim that, no, they deliver it. Okay, so in order for us to believe you, you're going to have to take an oath in that situation. So we would require them to take an oath. Now, the borrower, by appointing them, indicated that he trusts them and that he would trust their oath. And so the borrower would have to accept that oath, that vow, that they return the money. However, malve de lo shakule, malve, Mishtavi haniedim diavinale. So the witnesses will swear that they paid the malve, they paid the lender. Umishtava malve de lo shakule, and the malve, the borrower, the lender, the creditor is claiming that he never got the money. That's why we have a question on our hands. He's claiming he never got the money. They're claiming they returned it. He's claiming he never got it. So he would swear that he never got it, because he never agreed that they should be able to swear. He didn't appoint them to this. He didn't engage with these agents. He doesn't trust them. So why should he accept their vow? The borrower who appointed them has to accept their vow because he appointed them. So he's saying, I trust you. So he has to accept their vow. But the lender, he didn't appoint these agents to deliver the money, so he doesn't have to accept their vow. But he has to counter them with his own vow of saying, I never got the money. Uparle lo malve, and then the borrower will have to pay the lender, because the lender never accepted the vow of the agents, and he himself is taking the vow that he never got the money. So what would actually come out in this case, if both sides denied it, if somebody appointing an agent to deliver the money, and those agents were also supposed to be the witnesses, you didn't get other witnesses, which seems to be a good idea to get other witnesses, but they didn't. And they're testifying that they gave the money. And the lender is testifying he never got the money. So what comes out is that what would actually have to happen is that the agents would have to take a vow that they gave the money. The lender, the creditor, would have to take a vow that he never got the money. And in that situation, actually, the borrower would still owe the money and he'd have to pay the lender. Okay. Now we go back to Kiddushin. The Gemara says, Ha'ish mekadesh es bito. So the Mishnah had said that a man can accept Kiddushin for his daughter. Now we said this is a daughter before she reaches adulthood, before she's 12 and a half. So the Gemara says, Tanag Hasam. We learned in a Mishnah over there. Over there is in Mesaches Gittin. The Mishnah says, Naira hamu rasa. A betrothed naira. A naira is a girl who's between 12 and 12 and a half. So a naira amurasa, he ve'avia mekabel eskita. Both she and her father are able to accept her get. So she's mu'ura, so she's betrothed, so she's partially married. In order to become separated from her husband, she would need a get at this point. A get of Erisin, a get from Erisin, a divorce document from betrothal, but she still needs it. So the Mishnah says that both she and her father are able to accept the get. Either one of them can accept the get from the husband. This is not true once she reaches adulthood. But as a naira, either she or her father could accept the get. Amar Rav Yehuda. Rav Yehuda says, Ein shtei yadayim zochos ke'echad. No. Amar Rav Yehuda. Rav Yehuda says, two hands cannot be married at the same time. They are not both able to accept the get. Only one of them is. Who was able to accept it? Alavia mekabel eskita. Only her father. Her father is able to receive her get, but she is not at this point. And then he throws in because she'en yichal lishmar eskita, and a girl who's not able to guard her get, ein yichal lisgarish. she cannot get divorced. This is, I think, a side point here. Even if her father will accept her get for her, but if she's not able to keep it, she doesn't have the intelligence to keep it, she actually can't get divorced because the divorce has to be something that has permanence, and if she's just going to lose the get or just go back to her husband anyways, that she's now divorced from, then the divorce never counts. So, but that's really a side point, I think. So, but what we have here is we have a machlokas, we have a dispute. The first opinion says that this Naira Hamurasa, this 12-year-old girl, either she or her father can accept her get, and Rabbi Yehuda says no, only her father. The Gemara says, Amar Reish Lakish says, Ki machlokas l'gerushin kach machlokas l'kiddushin. Just like the Tanakama, the first opinion, and Rabbi Yehuda argue about this with regards to a get, with regards to divorce, so too they argue with regards to Kiddushin, meaning the Tanakama would hold that a Naira, both she or her father could accept Kiddushin, and Rabbi Yehuda would say no, only one of them could, only her father could accept Kiddushin while she's still a Naira, until she's 12 and a half. That's how Reish Lakish says it. Rabbi Yochanan says, Machlokas l'gerushin. No, they only argue by gerushin, by divorce. Aval l'kiddushin, but when it comes to kiddushin, divrei hakol avia v'lohi. Everybody agrees only her father could, and not her. That before she turns 12 and a half, before she reaches adulthood, she cannot accept her kiddushin, only her father can. That's the opinion of Rabbi Yochanan, that both opinions would agree to that. In other words, according to Rabbi Yochanan, the Tanakama, the first opinion, we'll call it the Rabbanan. The rabbis who argue on Rabbi Yehuda, they only hold that by a get, either she or her father could accept the get. But by Kiddushin, she may not accept Kiddushin. This 12-year-old, only her father could accept the Kiddushin. The Amar Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Chanina, Rabbi Yossi, the son of Rabbi Chanina, saying, "My time de Rabbi Yochanan aliba de Rabbanan." What is the reasoning of Rabbi Yochanan in the name of the Rabbanan? Why does Rabbi Yochanan, in explaining the Rabbanan, explaining the first opinion, say that when it comes to divorce, either her or her father could accept the get, but when it comes to Kiddushin, only her father is allowed to accept it? So he explains, Gerushin demachneses atzma l'reshus aviyah ben yu ben aviyah. When this girl gets divorced from Erison, if she was never married fully, and she gets divorced and she's not yet an adult, so then she goes back into her father's domain. If she ever reached Nisuin, was fully married, then she leaves her father's domain, she doesn't go back. Or if she was past 12 and a half, she's an adult, she doesn't go back to, she's out of her father's domain. But if she's under 12 and a half, and she only had Erison, she only had betrothal, she never had full marriage of Nisuin, and she gets divorced, she goes back to her father's domain. So Gerushin, so divorce, where she's going back to her father's domain, so it's in the interest of her father. He's happy for her to come back to her domain, to his domain. So both she or her father could accept it. We allow her to accept it because she's going back to her father's domain. But Kiddushin de mafkasat l'reshus aviyah. But Kiddushin, where she's getting married and she's bringing herself out of her father's domain. So that, there we say, says Rabbi Yochanan in the name of the Rabbanan, aviyah v'lohi. Only her father could accept that Kiddushin, but not her. Until she reaches, she's independent, she's an adult, while she's still in her father's domain, well, it's her father's decision whether she leaves his domain. So only he could accept the Kiddushin and not her. Asks the Gemara about a mimer. But we see otherwise, because by mimer is, when it comes to yibum, so a levirate marriage, a man dies without children, his wife is supposed to marry his brother. Now, according to Torah law, there's no Kiddushin there. They just have relations, and that seals the marriage. That's how Yibum is done according to Torah law. The Rabbanan, the rabbis, introduced a concept of Kiddushin even by Yibum, and it's referred to as Maimer. So the Mishnah, the Gemara asks, B'harei Maimer. What about by Maimer, by this rabbinic Kiddushin in the context of Yibum? Dimafkas atzma l'reshus aviyah. There she removes herself from her father's domain. Vitanya. And we learned in a Brisa, top of the next page, Kitana minga erisin, ein osim ba Maimer elo midas aviyah. that if she's a katan, if she's a child, and she was only had erisin, she was only betrothed, and her husband died, so she falls to Yibum, so then you can't do Maimer without her father's agreement. She's a child, she's under 12. We're talking now under 12. V'hanaira, but if she's a naira, if she's 12, Bei midas atma, bei midas avia. We could do it both with her agreement or with her father's agreement. So what do we see? We see that here we have, by Maimer, we have that by this rabbinic Kiddushin, in the context of Yibum, that even though she is leaving her father's domain, we allow her to accept the Kiddushin. So Rabbi Yochanan, or really Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Chanina was suggesting in Rabbi Yochanan that the reason why Rabbi Yochanan thought that within the opinion of the Rabbanan, the first opinion of the Mishnah, we should distinguish between marriage, Kiddushin, and Gerushin, and divorce, was because divorce, we can allow her to accept it because that's putting her back into her father's domain. She's leaving her husband's domain, she's going back to her father's domain. So there we allow her to do that because it's in her father's interest anyways. But Kiddushin, where she's leaving her father's domain, that we wouldn't allow her to do. Only her father has the right when she's still a naira. So the Gemara is asking, but what about, we see otherwise? We see that by Maimer, we see that by this rabbinic Kiddushin, by Yibum, we allow her to accept it. Now, I guess the idea is that if they would do chalitza there, and then she would go back to her father's domain. So she is actually making a move here to leave her father's domain. And yet we allow that to go through. So we see that it doesn't have to do with whether you're coming to your father's domain or leaving it. That must not be the point here. So the Gemara says, rather, ela itmar hachidmar. If there was anything that Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Chanina said to explain this opinion, this is how it was said. Amar Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Chanina, Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Chanina said, my time to Rabbi Yochanan liba de Rabbanan. What is the reason for Rabbi Yochanan in the name of the Rabbanan? Why is it that Rabbi Yochanan said that the Rabbanan hold that only by divorce, by Gerushin, can the naira accept the get? It could be either her or her father. But when it comes to Kiddushin, only the father is allowed to accept the Kiddushin, not her, when she's a naira. So the reason is, Kiddushin demidaita avia velohi. Because when it comes to Kiddushin, you have to get the agreement of the woman or of her father. There needs to be acquiescence. You can't just force someone to get married to you. So therefore, since there's input here. So there we say, okay, we need the father's input. He's in charge of her still. She's in his domain. So she can't do it without him. That's when it comes to Kiddushin. That's why by Kiddushin, the Rabbanan say, according to Rabbi Yochanan, that only the father can accept the Kiddushin when she's a naira. But Gerushin, de Baal Karcha, but divorce, which is against her will, Bein Hi or Bein Avia, that there the Rabbanan say that either she or her father can do it. Divorce, by Torah law, the husband has the right to just give his wife the gag and she's divorced. Now by rabbinic law, that's not true. You need both sides to agree by rabbinic law. But by Torah law, that's the case. So therefore, since we don't need her agreement, or his, or the father's, nobody, it's up to the husband. So there we say, okay, it doesn't matter who accepts it. The father of the girl or the girl herself doesn't really make a difference. They're not parties here anyways. They don't have a choice here. So since it's against their will anyways, so therefore it doesn't matter who the husband gives it to. He could give it to the girl, he could give it to the father, and according to the Rabbanan, either way it would work. And as we learned, according to Rabbi Yehuda, though, no. Rabbi Yehuda said, no, you can't have two hands being zochet, two hands can't merit the same right, and it must be, also, even there, must be given to the father. Okay, we'll continue next time.